the race towards the selection of Nigeria's fifth democratically elected president in the Fourth Republic has begun. We have had Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, Alhaji Umar Yar'Adua, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, President Muhammadu Buhari, and now only God knows who the next president will be. And when it comes to presidential elections in Nigeria, from 1959 federal elections towards 1964, 1979, 1983, sometimes 1992, then 1999 and beyond, North-South dichotomy has always come into play. The issue of religion, Muslims and Christians too, will continue to come into play, and then we cannot push to the background the ethnic coloration of our politics. Before now, everybody believed Nigeria was into three ethnic groups: Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo. But recent happenings, and according to observers and researchers, have shown that the Hausa Fulani hegemony is breaking away, that the Fulanis are trying to stay separately from Hausas, or the Hausas are trying to carve out some niche for themselves away from the. So now we have, we can say conveniently, so to speak, that we have the Yorubas, the Igbos, the Fulanis, and the Hausas. But the focus of our discussion this morning is 2023 Yoruba and 2023. Is it going to be a political party's choice or the choice of ethnic coloration? My guest is a current and political and social affairs analyst, Dr. Maruf Hassan Adon at University in Nigeria. Good morning, and thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Alhaji Lotun Yusuf.
How has it been?
It's a pleasure meeting you.
It's my pleasure hosting you. How has it been?
Well, we are managing to survive, because if I say all is well with us in Nigeria, one will be deceiving oneself. Yes, we find ourselves in an unexpected situation, going by the caliber of human resources that Nigeria has produced in the past, and the caliber of people holding our politics, and the quantum of resources, both natural and human, that the Almighty endows Nigeria with. We are supposed not to find ourselves in this kind of a situation. I believe that there is no society that is absolutely egalitarian, and if there will be no poor people, the word poverty will not exist. But poverty has levels. No Nigerian is expected to be living in abject poverty and absolute deprivation, which leads to relative comfort for the affluent.
Relative comfort?
Relative comfort. When only few people sit on the resources of a nation, and many others are sovereign. So those who have the wealth, they cannot live in absolute comfort.
We have heard stories, we have read and heard stories about Nigeria's former Prime Minister, Tafawa Balewa, who at death had only one house, a black and white television set, 3 pairs of sandals, 3 pairs of Abariga, and nothing else, and a pair of wristwatches. We have also read and heard about Chief Obafemi Awolowo, who had a house in Ikene's hometown and another in Ibadan, and maybe the government owned in Lagos. So when did we start getting it wrong?
We started getting it wrong when we threw away our culture and tradition.
When you say our culture, you mean Yoruba culture or Nigerian culture or human culture?
What I mean by our culture is human culture.
All right.
Because we have diverse cultures in Nigeria, different cultures in Nigeria. Hausa people have theirs, they have theirs. Yoruba, we have ours. The Igbo people, they have theirs. But when we say human culture, human culture takes care of having consideration for fellow men and being able to think independent of another people. Let me explain further. When we got independence in 1960, we had our indigenous leaders.
Okay.
You have just cited the example of Sir Tafawa Balewa. And I always ask our people that question. Those who are fond of ethnic profiling, claiming that it is the northerners that destroy Nigeria. I always ask them, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Sir Ahmadu Bello, Sir Tafawa Balewa, and few others. All of them, they were then Chief Akintola, Nnamdi Akintola, our own father, Awolowo, our own father. All of them were contemporaries when Nigeria got independence. But today, go to the north. Let people show us the mansions and vast estates of Ahmadu Bello and Tafawa Balewa. So Northerners got what their leaders struggled for them as legacy. We will be complaining. They are the one holding the army, the police, the bombarded federal parastatals. Those things were the things their own leaders struggled for them. But here, our own leaders were fighting. Till today, in the western region, but specifically Yoruba land, we still divide along Awolowo Akintola political hegemony. We will tax some people, Dema.
Some people progressive, some people conservative.
So if tomorrow they tag you conservative, and today you join the party of the progressive, you have become a progressive. If today you leave progressive, tomorrow you join the party we tag conservative, you have become conservative. So we have thrown human dignity, personality, we have thrown it away. We are doing party politics, and majority of the people in politics, like I always say, they are people who have no business in politics. Politics is about delivering services to the people. It's about establishing good governance. It's about leaving enduring legacy. It is about taking care of welfare of the people. It is about assessing today what is wrong between today and yesterday. How do we correct it in order to prepare for better tomorrow? That is no more in our politics. And my experience in partisan politics, because I have been in politics for a while, and I interact with politicians across the country. If you are not very careful in Yoruba land, I pray that we don't become a backward ethnic nationals. How do I mean? In the north, if you like, you can crucify me for this. Truth is bitter. Whatever you put in your mouth that is bitter, when you swallow it, it becomes body friendly. Anything you put in your mouth that is very sweet, you enjoy the sweetness. When it gets into your body system, it becomes the enemy of your body system. That is the similitude. That is the example of truth and falsehood. And enough, my experience showed me that they always look for very good political materials who can represent them adequately. Yes. But here, our people will be looking for people who will not be able to think independent of them in the name of loyalty. People who will not represent, who will not be able to represent us very well, except you tell them what to do. If you are deep intellectually and they see you as somebody who is capable of doing certain things without their input, they will say, well, it's just like saying that so we should be living our life, the young ones should be living their lives under the issue. So what we can gain from such scenario is what is happening right now. Politics is now a business. It has been highly commercialized. The way our politics is going now, hardly can we get good people who have their conscience, who are intelligent, who can deliver, who have many things to offer the society. Hardly can we get them into the seat of power, because such people do not have money. Money now determines everything. So it depends on how high you can pay. That wins you what you need in politics. We are in serious trouble.
Okay, you said something that politics is about service to the people, service delivery. So let us look at the three major ethnic groups we used to have in Nigeria. There was the era of Chief Awolowo, Chief Akintola. They still moved into 1979, even though Akintola is dead. Awolowo, we're still talking about Awolowo 1793, the likes of Chief Bola Ige, the likes of Adekunle Ajasin, the likes of BC Onon Banjo, the likes of Bola Ige, the likes of Professor Ambrose, Ali. And when we go to the north, from 1959 down to 1979, 1983, we were talking about Ahmadu Bello, isn't it? Tafawa Balewa, isn't it? Shehu Shagari, Aminu Kano of PRP, Waziri Ibrahim of GNPP. And if you go to the north, we're talking about Okoti Ebo, Onamdi, Mazikiwe, in the east. In the east, I'm sorry, in the east. Then Kweme, Joseph Wayas, and the rest of them. And now, we'll be talking of Baba, BC Akonde, and others leading the progressives, that is in the south. And in the north, we'll be talking about the likes of Atiku, Okwankwaso, and the rest of them. And then in the east too, they have been. That was why I asked you, at what layer of that political profiling did we start getting it wrong? Did politics, steer away from service delivery?
We swerved away from service delivery during 1979-83.
That was second democratic experience.
Second democratic experience. And I am going to domesticate my example.
Okay.
So, Papa Obafemi Awolowo was from Okene. Ikene. Okene is in Kogi State. Papa Awolowo is from Ikene. He brought NTA to Ibadan. Papa is from Ikene.
In Ogun State now.
In Ogun State now. He did not take television station to Ikene. Papa Awolowo is from Ikene. He did not influence University of Ibadan.
No, Ife.
OAU. He did not influence it to be brought to Ikene. Papa Awolowo is from Ikene. Cocoa House was not built in Ikene. Chief, I don't want to domesticate. Chief Bola Ige happens to be a product of Papa Awolowo. Chief Sunday Afolabi, before they parted ways, they were together. When Chief Bola Ige was governor of Oyo State, then Oyo State, yeah. Chief Sunday Afolabi was deputy. They took satellite campuses of the Polytechnic Ibadan, one to SLP, one to Ire, their own hometowns. between Osogbo, Ile-Ife already had a tertiary institution. So between Osogbo, Ede, and Ire, SLK, which of the four cities deserved to be given those institutions? That is when we started getting it wrong. In the then Oyo State, the civil service of Oyo State was excessively populated by Ijesha, when we had Ijesha man as the governor. And remember that Ijesha and Ilesha and Ire, let me say Ijesha and Ire, they were very close. We jumped Ibadan. Ibadan, Ogbomoso, Okegun, Addis. The governor and deputy, they did not fight for it. That one should go to Ibadan, Okegun area. Nobody complained. It means the culture of political sanity was still in us. But when our people got there and they became nepotic, so people started to think that if it is like that, when I get there, I too must bring something to my town, whether my town deserves it or not. That was even better. But now people are taking things for themselves. They will not think of usefulness. They will not think of relevance of public infrastructure or any project to the people, because infrastructure is about developing the economy, developing the people. There's a difference between project importance and project relevance.
Okay.
Project relevance takes care of the needs of the people. It addresses the need of the people.
Okay.
Project importance only when you political gratification.
Okay.
Yeah, look at this edifice, whereas it's not useful for the people. Many people in government now embark on relevant projects that can fetch them a huge kickback. Go around, you see a lot of abandoned recent projects, useless. At the beginning of planning for that project, what was in the subconscious of the planners was not sustainability, usefulness, relevance of that project to the people, but what comes to them. So we have a lot of problems. And if you are not very careful in Yoruba land, and Nigeria is still together in the next 30, 40, 50 years, we may drive ourselves into a level of absolute political subjugation. When a northerner stands up in the House of, on the floor of the House of Representatives or Senate, he has doctorate degree or first degree with very wide experience, highly intelligent, and somebody from somewhere here could not match him intellectually. Right in his presence, what is due unto us, what we deserve will be taken to
elsewhere.
So that is what we are facing now. Look at the local government level. And that is the closest level of government to the people. It is to take care of the grassroots. So councillorship and local government chairmanship, even House of Assembly membership, have now become items of compensating, mind my word, items of compensating political thuggery or how able you are to fabricate lies against people.
So if you're able to do that very well, you get compensated.
You get compensated.
With tickets.
Yes, you get the ticket. That is even better, though it's evil. Now, the worst evil bedeviling us now in Yoruba land is excessively empowering people who are supposed to be behind the bars. Yes. Somebody who's supposed to be in jail or police custody, they are now having police escorts. Exclusive dropouts who could not complete secondary school, or he completed secondary school but could not, does not know anything to do in life to empower himself, but goes into thuggery because he could kill, because he could maim, because he could kidnap on somebody's behalf, will not be empowered. They are now building houses in eyebrow areas. What statement are we making to our children?
And the example you have just painted cuts across. As it happens here, it happens in the east. I mean, you are painting
in the south. You can't find that in the north. Yes, you can't find that in the north.
Okay.
You can't find it in the north.
It is restricted to the south here.
So when your younger brother who has degree is riding Okada to feed, and a stupid political thug has fleet of cars. This is 2022. Many of these people, they are riding 2022 brand of cars. And somebody in public service who has spent 25 years preparing for retirement is finding it very difficult to maintain a two-bedroom flat. Before they can pay rent, they will have to take loan. Before they can buy land to build their own house, they continue to live in debt until they leave service. And that is another angle to it. The system teaches people how to steal. Honesty is not compensated. Ability to work very well, hard work, yes, let me put it that way, is not compensated. So how do you expect somebody who is not godly enough, who does not have the strong mind, having been in service for 30 years, going home with less than 100,000 naira, he has aged parents to take care of, he has children, and many other responsibilities. He now has the opportunity to steal. Not all of us can resist such temptation.
So mediocrity has eventually taken over industry in the Nigerian, political and civil service scene. Big thieves are now being pampered. Yes. Smaller thieves are sent to jail. Yeah. Isn't that?
So in the name of presidential pardon.
Pardon. Yes, earlier on, Dr. Maruf Hassan said, if care is not taken here in the southwest, maybe we continue to swim in the backwaters of development. Now, Dr. Hassan, let us now go to the Awolowo eras as we have continued to paint. We had Awolowo and Akintola, they parted ways. There was a time Chief Awolowo was in prison and people were saying, after all, the man who sat at the head of the judiciary was also from Ogun State, retired in the late Justice Adetokunbo, Ademola. 30 years later, we had Chief MKO Abiola. Everybody voted for him massively, regardless of the religion you profess or the ethnic background you came from. On the 12th of June 1993. The man was imprisoned by a military junta headed by General Sani Abacha, now late. But unfortunately, we still had Yoruba people who joined the military administration, took ministerial appointments, while the man continued to rot in jail. And I could recollect 1979 to 83 when Awolowo wanted to contest, or was contesting rather, a serving, head of state said, well, the best candidate might not win the election. And maybe the best candidate did not even win. And 1993 too, someone, maybe the same person came out. The man you are referring to as the Messiah was not the Messiah Nigerians needed, and eventually MK Abiola died in prison. Now, 30 years after now, we are into it.
Let us not forget our source. Let's go into history.
Okay.
Let us collectively pray that the Almighty God removes the curse on Yoruba race. I am referring to what happened between Alaafin Aule and Afanja, and the curses that Alaafin Aule placed on the Yoruba race. It seems as if that curse is yet to be removed. If not, Chief Obafemi Awolowo his jail term or jail sentence was presided over by a fellow Yoruba man. Between Awolowo and Akintola, there was a war of attrition. And till today, the division is still there.
Yeah, very clearly.
And we are so insincere and subjective to the extent that criminalization of Chief S.L. Akintola has become something we are proud of, as if Akintola was useless, as if Akintola did not do anything, as if Awolowo is God and Akintola is a devil, is an evil. What caused the division, the dispute between the two of them? Personal interest, not the interest of the people. And I pity some people today when they, whenever they refer to Akintola as Odale, is a betrayer. The man is, were you alive then? They told you bad story about somebody, and you are stupid enough not to research into it. Akintola did a lot of things that people subdued. So that is...
Or which historians subdued?
Historians. Yes. Let me say which historians subdued. Because what we were taught in history, O-level history, if we are to believe in it, nobody would like Akintola. It's just like the history of jihad. Jihad means only war. That was what we were taught. Sword on the right, Quran on the left. That was what they put in our head in secondary school before we knew the meaning of jihad. So historians have destroyed a lot of things, influenced by some people, biased history. Now, 30 years after, like you rightly pointed out, MK Abiola came up, he contested, massively voted for across the southwest and across the northern region. He failed in the east, woefully and totally. In 1979 and 1983, in the old east, Chief Obafemi Awolowo got 0.7% of the total vote cast in the east. In 1983, he got 0.8% of the total vote cast in the east. In 1983, they did not vote for Abiola. Abiola failed in 1983. Abiola failed in Abia State, Imo State, Enugu, and several other states in the south, southeast. Now, he got arrested. He was alleged of treasonable felony.
The same way Awolowo was the same charge Awolowo faced.
Yes.
30 years earlier.
30 years earlier. They framed the same allegation against MK Abiola. And some people rose. They started fighting the cause of democracy, that Abiola should be brought out of prison and be installed as president. Many lives were lost. Some people went into exile, while some of us celebrated political mini-gods were romancing with the head of the junta. I'm saying it in the public. In 2006, I was privileged to be in a meeting. I was privileged. Let me use that word because my status was not. I'm not diminishing myself. The category of people at that meeting, I was the youngest and smallest. Former military president Babangida was saying, I was the one who raised the question of MKO Abiola's election that he annulled. He said, leaders must take responsibility. I take responsibility. I was not the one who annulled the election, and God sees my heart, but I take responsibility. But if Yoruba people know the secret of annulment of that election, they will be stoning their political leaders on the streets. Are we still under August course?
You just quoted retired General.
I am quoting retired General Ibrahim Babangida. The man is still alive. Not that somebody was relating the story to me. I was there. About 4 of us from Osun State were there.
2006.
2006. I was the one who asked that question. That if our people raise the issue of 1993 election that led into Abiola's death, what do we say? How do we defend it? So he said a lot of things. Now, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo was telling us that Abiola was not the Messiah Nigerians need at that time. Eventually, he became the biggest beneficiary of Abiola's predicament. And when he was president, let us count the number of the number and quality of infrastructural facilities that he brought to the Southwest. Instead, he did a lot of things that suppressed us politically, that put us under the so-called Hausa Fulani political hegemony. Now, this is another time. 30 years after, again, Tinubu signified to become president. Other people, Ibikule Amusun, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, the incumbent vice president, it is their democratic right. But we know that somebody must emerge. More than 2-3 persons fighting for a position, it is automatic that someone must emerge. Eventually, Tinubu emerged. He survived a lot of political campaign of calumny, intimidation, fabrication against him. In fact, his presidential ambition, let me say, helped me to know certain things about him. And I have to seek God's forgiveness. I heard it and I read it on pages of newspaper where some people were saying that he was Mr. Nobody, that Afenifere just picked him and put him on the seat of governorship of Lagos State. But a lot of revelations are now coming out how he was responsible for the welfare of the people who were in exile during Abacha. And how can you say that somebody who has worked with many multinationals was a pauper before he became governor? Campaign of calumny against the man. Tell me, in the Southwest today, the politician that has Tinubu's courage, tell me, the politician in the Southwest that has Tinubu's influence, both local and international, they have monetized politics. Tell me, any of them who has the resources that Tinubu has. Some people may argue, after all, he stole our money.
Exactly, but what I want, the question I want.
After all, he stole our money. If If they know the investment that the man has, but he said something jokingly. I heard that from Pastor Bakari, that Chief Olusegun Obasanjo is alleging me of corruption, and I told him that he is my mentor. He taught me how to be legitimately corrupt. So I have companies, I invested, and my investments are yielding. So if by my company, by my proposal, if through my company I develop a proposal, and government buys into the proposal and gives me consultancy, and I get money there based on the percentage we agreed upon. Is that corruption? If that is corruption, it is illegitimate corruption. So now our people are now campaigning for Peter Obi. Peter Obi,
let's say they are not campaigning for other contestants.
Well, they are campaigning for other, because some of them are campaigning for Hausa Fulani they did not want. They hate fairly populated Lagos State House of Assembly with Igbo. It was this same Tinubu that made permanent secretaries out of Igbo. It was this same Tinubu that seated nothing less than 30% of the civil service population in Lagos State. How would not they say that Lagos is no man's land? We are ready to take back what belongs to us. But the saddest part of it, the worst part of it, is open support. The so-called Afenifere is given to Igbo, saying it in the public that Yoruba land does not have a qualified person to become president. When I was reading it, until today, the elder statesman is yet to refute it. Ideally wept. What could have led into the kind of hatred, the level of hatred they have for Tinubu? So the 2023 election is not by party, it is by ethnic. I am saying it emphatically.
And you are entitled to your opinion.
I am entitled to my opinion. I am not, as a Muslim, I am not supposed to be a tribalist. And I'm sure I'm not a tribalist. But I cannot put my head on the ground and allow somebody to be marching on me continuously. This is a war that we must win. Not by sword, not by gun, not by AK-47, but by our PVC.
Okay.
Yes, by our fingers. I am not pleading with those people who have been made to hate Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is now our symbol in Yoruba land. Whether you like it or not, he has become our political symbol in Yoruba land. So he is representing the Yorubas. He is going to Aso Rock on behalf of the Yorubas, but to rule over all.
Asiwaju Bola Tinubu was in Ogun State a couple of days ago to meet Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. You heard anything about the outcome of the meeting?
I've not heard something substantial about the meeting, but what I picked from what I read about the response of Papa Obasanjo, his response to the visit of Tinubu was that, when it is time, we know what to do. He concluded his statement. He concluded his speech with that statement. When it is time, we know what to do. And I commented under it that Baba is unpredictable. It is obvious he's not supporting Tinubu.
How will you say that?
I have my evidences. But he is romancing Peter Obi seriously. If we know people who can go and beg Papa Obasanjo to please come back home. So maybe that will rub off from people's mind that it was the one who brought in unprepared Shehu Shagari.
No, unprepared Omar Yaratua, you mean? Okay, unprepared Shehu Shagari in 1979.
In 1979.
Okay.
When he said the best candidate might not win.
And he was referring to Chief Obafemi.
He was referring to Chief Obafemi Awolowo as the best candidate. So that's still in the mind of the people. Maybe if he comes back home now, people will forget what he did concerning the travails of MKO Abiola, when he said Abiola was not the Messiah that Nigeria was expecting. So if he comes back home now to give full support to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, so people may forgo and people may forget and forgive him, because I don't think the Yorubas are forgiving former President Olusegun Obasanjo. And if he makes that mistake of not supporting his own people this time around, then he has lost it forever.
Is it compulsory that everybody must support Asiwaju Bola Tinubu? It's not Yoruba man.
It's not compulsory that every Yoruba man supports Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but it is pertinent. It is almost compulsory that every Yoruba man supports the aspiration of the Yorubas. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is an individual, but is from a particular region, is from a particular race. And when you set the house of your father on fire, then when you return in the evening, where do you keep your head?
But Nigeria is a federation, and everybody is free to join any political party and aspire to get their focus from on the platform of any political party.
Yes, I have said that before, that everybody can exercise his or her democratic freedom, right, to join any political party, to support any political party for whatever reason he or she believes might cause that. But if one is reasonable enough, going by what is going on now politically in Nigeria, and you compare the three popular candidates, well, one is popular on social media.
So you think that's your own opinion?
That's my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. And I have instances, I have examples.
Don't worry.
to cite. Now, if you now place the three of them, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Peter Obi, and Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, put them side by side. The three of them had been in power before. What was the antecedent of each of them in terms of performance and in terms of ability to manage the economy of the area they superintended? Then how able are they, or how able is each of them to empower his people? Let me give you an example. I want to compare Peter Obi and Tinubu now.
I won't allow you to do that.
Oh, okay.
Rather, I will go to the next question. Some people will tell you that the Yorubas, we have not lost anything. After all, we have the incumbent Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, who will be completing 8 years on the 29th of May next year. So we have not lost anything.
You cannot compare the position of the president to the position of the vice president, except a president who is magnanimous enough, like we have in President Muhammadu Buhari. Tell me a Nigerian president who was traveling and handed over officially to his deputy, to his vice, and that person was addressed as acting president. Former President Goodluck Jonathan became acting president due to the frail head of the president. Yar'Adua then. If Umar Yar'Adua was not in that condition, Jonathan would not become acting president, and eventually he became president after the demise of Yar'Adua. But to officially, consciously hand over to the vice president in the history of Nigeria, I can't remember any except Muhammadu Buhari, except the president, who is magnanimous enough. So you can't compare the executive power of the president to that of vice president. The vice president does the wishes of
the president.
The president. You may have a lot of ideas, a lot of good ideas that can benefit the system. Well, if it doesn't go along the thought of the president, he will say no. And even at the state level, I have had experiences, I have witnessed several situations whereby people will come up with very good plan, development proposal, but the governor will say no. It's happening at the state level. And we know the aftermath of that. And that is the reason we're supposed to be searching for people who have had impact on the areas they superintended in the past. So you can't compare Lagos and Anambra. You cannot compare
president with vice president. You cannot compare the influence the president has with the influence vice president has. That is where we started.
That is where we started. Before I dabbled into going into the antecedents of each of the contestants. But
which I won't allow you. Now the last question because of our time. Now we are trying to say, okay, Asiwaju Tinubu is our own, he's a Yoruba man, a Milokan, and the rest of it. But this man himself is traversing the length and breadth of the country. He started his consultation right from the north, and that is saying that, look, I am a detribalized Nigerian.
Tinubu is a detribalized Nigerian, and I have referred to how he empowered different ethnic nationalities living in Lagos.
Yeah.
And in terms of religion, Tinubu is more of a Christian than a Muslim. I can prove that to you.
Quickly, 30 seconds.
His wife is an ordained, redeemed Christian Church of God pastor. His children, most of them are Christians. He has been living peacefully with them in the past. And among the people he mentored, there are more Christians than Muslims. What else do we want? In terms of religion, the man is balanced. In terms of ethnicity, the man is balanced. And he has very thick skin, yes, and large heart. There are some people who are with him today who is supposed not to greet forever again because of the betrayal they have done against him in the past.
So you think, but in politics, it is of interest. You know.
It is of interest, but that interest must bring good governance to the people.
You see Nigeria being together in the next 30 years? We have just a minute.
If God wills, with the way things are going now, it is only a miracle that can make Nigeria remain as an entity. The way things are going now, we are shouting of Yoruba nation, Yoruba nation. If you have our own man manning the whole country, and we sit down with him, so the Biafra nation, Yoruba nation is something that can be resolved. The man is so sagacious to the extent that without a drop of blood, that can be achieved.
Yes, that can be achieved, and Nigeria will continue to be one, and will continue to be united. Nigeria cannot continue to exist again on the blood of some people as it happened from 1967 to 1970, a 30-month civil war. But eventually, the warring factions had to sit around a table, and what did we get in the end? Nigeria remained united and continues to remain united. At this point, we bring down the curtains on this week's edition of Political Update on OSBC Television. Oluwatoyin Yusuf is my name. And I appreciate my guest. I told you at the outset of the program that he is a social, public and political analyst, and he has just demonstrated that even though with a large degree of bias towards Yoruba, which he belongs, and particularly towards Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And for the past 15 minutes, he was careful not to mention either any of the political parties.
No. It's not about party.
He was certain about who the contestants are. Thank you so much for being my guest this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure hosting Dr. Maruf Hassan. Join us Thursday next week on Political Update. Until then, stay with OSBC. Enjoy the rest of your day with our various programs. Good morning.